Hear that theme song? Well, that means it's time to go out to the other coast of the United States, out to the West Coast, out to Hollywood, and out to Michael Snyder, who's lurking in the dark in some movie theater to tell us what he's been seeing in the last couple of weeks. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Alex, and don't worry, I'm all vaxxed up and wearing a mask, and I'm keeping 2 or 3 seats away from everybody. I'm doing my best.
Okay.
But I am seeing things, and some movies really crave the big screen. And I know you've got a massive home unit, so you can kind of immerse yourself there, but I don't. So a film like Eternals, the latest from Marvel Studios, just begs to be seen in a movie theater. So you know who Jack Kirby is. Over the course of this guy's career, one of the most monumental figures in the history of the comic book medium. The guy co-created Captain America with Joe Simon during World War II, and with Stan Lee co-created the majority of the core superheroes who have populated Marvel Comics. He also got into a snit with Stan and left Marvel, moved to DC Comics, and on his own created the New Gods. But, again, he was lured back. And it turned out that Kirby's last memorable epic comic book creation was this solo project for Marvel called The Eternals. And unlike the simpler sort of good versus evil parable of the New Gods, the Eternal story was like convoluted and much less clear-cut. These guys were a bunch of immortals, each with different powers, and they all had names that echoed Greek and Roman gods like Ajax and Circe and, figures from mythology. Anyway, these guys were apparently sent to Earth 7,000 years ago to protect humans from an interstellar, planet-destroying race of creatures called the Deviants. They apparently did the job. They wiped out the beasties, but for some reason still stayed on Earth and lived their lives until modern times when, of course, the Deviants show up again and the battle to save Earth begins anew. So, there's your basic story. And it's all playing out on the screen in Eternals. But why Marvel chose to put the big bucks into a feature film about the Eternals as part of their ever-expanding, interconnected tapestry of movies and TV shows is as confusing and easily dismissed as Kirby's Eternals comic book series. Look, there's a lot of talent involved here. Recent Oscar-winning director and screenwriter Chloe Zhao, who did Nomadland, she's here. And you got a cast that includes Angelina Jolie, Salma Hayek, Kit Harington and Richard Madden, the brothers from Game of Thrones, Gemma Chan, one of the most beautiful women in the world from Crazy Rich Asians and Humans, Kumail Nanjiani from Silicon Valley, and too many more. And despite all that, I felt it was the least successful and most lumbering of all the movies from Marvel Studios going way back to the first Iron Man feature film. Maybe the intent was to make a superhero movie for people who don't like superhero movies. So you bring in the young Oscar-winning director, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She has a flair for portraits of troubled people and an eye for vast vistas. Anyway, you also want to make sure there's references to the MCU and connections to the next arc of stories. But the sheer amount of new faces that have to be introduced here and the backstory that needs to be explained and shades of Star Wars, there's a 3-part text prologue before the movie begins. Now, all that is so daunting, as are the time shifts, that, you got your practical and CGI action sequences. Even they begin to dull the mind instead of exciting the mind. Too much mythology and character. A lot of cerebral conversation. So a great and diverse cast, gorgeous cinematography by the way of real-life locations mandated by Zhao, but wonky script and ponderous it's telling that the biggest thrills came from the now requisite mid- and end-credit sequences that set up future MCU events. The Eternals have been here for 7,000 years. That's how long I thought I was sitting in the theater.
Okay, next, Michael.
All righty. Well, let's get a little more down to earth. I'm not a fan of the Twilight young adult movies with all the glowy vampires and such, but the series did launch the careers of Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, who it turns out are both very good actors. And Stewart may have given her best performance yet in Spencer, what could have been another boilerplate biographical project about the late lady Diana Spencer, and instead With Stewart as Diana, it's a look at the troubled princess, presuming how things may have played out during a few days around Christmas as her marriage to Prince Charles was on its last legs. So with the media going bonkers in search of dirt on the royals, and Diana in particular, she has to put on a brave face for her two sons while the Windsor family gathers at Queen Elizabeth's Sandringham estate, and she has to make a few public appearances as well. Look, I know we've been inundated by the fine TV series The Crown about the life of Queen Elizabeth and her family, and to be fair, the main cast members in Spencer don't look as much like their real-life counterparts as those in The Crown, but they more than suffice. And although Stewart isn't a dead ringer for Diana, she's so good at depicting Diana's emotional turmoil and her grace in the face of abuse that ranges from passive-aggressive to downright aggressive from her in-laws. I mean, it's the plight of the caged bird. Anyway, you buy her as the woman, and it makes Spencer a worthy addition to the wealth of narratives about this real-life aristocratic soap opera turned tragedy. And it doesn't hurt that three of my favorite actors from the UK are here. Timothy Spall as estate manager, Major Alistair Gregory, Sean Harris as the estate's head chef, and Sally Hawkins as Diana's maid and confidant. It's directed by Paolo Lorraine, who's a politically astute Chilean filmmaker. He did Jackie with Natalie Portman before this, and a bunch of other films in Chile that were wonderful, including Gloria. This is in theaters. Spencer, a good film and one that will translate very well to video when available on streaming. Okay, next up. You remember the post-apocalyptic movie A Boy and His Dog? Well, Tom Hanks has done one of his own called Finch, although it could have been titled A Man and His Dog and His Robot. Hanks is Finch, a St. Louis-based robotics engineer who's been hiding out at the research facility where he worked when the big solar flare hit Earth and devastated society. In any case, his only companion is a stray dog, but their time together may be short because the deadly UV rays that have pounded the planet are killing Finch. So Finch builds a robot. Regardless of what happens to him, there's going to be someone, the robot, to care for the dog. And soon this trio of polyglot buddies is on the road west to escape Missouri weather that has become increasingly apocalyptic. Travails ensue. So we've seen similar movies that are better and less predictable than Finch. But Hanks is so damn charming and likable that you'd think it's no great chore to spend a couple hours with him as he drives a van through the American wasteland while coughing up blood, petting a doggy, and trying to educate a newly built robot. It's kind of true, but I kept wanting to hit the double speed toggle on my screener. Director Miguel Sapochnik is an accomplished TV director who's worked on shows from House and Falling Skies to True Detective and Game of Thrones. Finch is his second feature film, and he does what he can, but meh, it's on Apple TV. Let's wrap up with The French Dispatch because, you know, I have a great affection for Wes Anderson's
This is the movies. This is the one I want to see. You know.
Okay. Do you know the phrase "too clever by half"? Okay, that's The French Dispatch. It's lovingly rendered, if somewhat frivolous or insubstantial, with vignette after vignette. And so it's come from this relentlessly idiosyncratic director, Wes Anderson, and here in The French Dispatch, he tries to convert the New Yorker magazine's sort of diverse cultural commentary from section to section into a whimsical, episodic feature film about a monthly international magazine made in a quaint French small town named, are you ready? Ennui, France. Okay, so you got the New Yorker as the International Herald Tribune, published in a charmingly eccentric village. Okay, so that should tip you off about how quintessentially Wes Anderson this is. I mean, kudos for this attempt to honor thought-provoking journalism. As a guy who works in journalism, I am delighted. But so much of this admittedly eye-caressing movie is more concerned with Anderson's occasional tendency to favor style over substance. And this is despite a gargantuan display of visual and acting talent on parade. It's precious and smug, and yet so entertaining in enough spots that it skates through the less effective ones. As fun as it can be to watch, it just doesn't hang together as well as Anderson's Moonrise Kingdom or the Grand Budapest Hotel. But oh my gracious, the cast. There's a tendency after a while to play Spot the Cameo, but why not? You get Bill Murray as the publisher of the Dispatch, Owen Wilson as his columnist about town, Benicio del Toro, Adrian Brody, Tilda Swinton, Frances McDormand. Oh, look, Timothy Chalamet. Oh, wow. Oh, my God, he's in everything. Léa Seydoux and Jeffrey Wright, who were just in No Time to Die together, and two ex-Bond villains, Mathieu Amalric and Christoph Waltz, Ed Norton, Jason Schwartz. It's an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the people involved. I just wish when it was over I didn't leave humming the art direction. The French Dispatch is still in movie theaters, but yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch at home too. So I think be patient, Alex.
Yeah, this is the one I'm waiting for. This is the one I want to see. I love Wes Anderson's work. It's just
because of its episodic nature, you can watch a couple. You can watch a couple segments, take a little break. It's not going to, ruin your enjoyment of the film.
As you were reviewing it, I couldn't help but think that he's he's replaced Woody Allen as the auteur director.
That's a fair comparison.
In that also, the cast that he assembled are the kind of cast that Woody Allen would have assembled if he could do it. He can't do it these days because of all the controversy. But, I mean, that's exactly what Woody Allen did, too. I just love Wes Anderson's work, and I'm looking forward to this.
Didn't Woody Allen cast Timothy Chalamet in A Rainy Day in New York?
And Timothy Chalamet sent back his money because he doesn't want to work with Woody Allen because he's a rapist, which makes me hate him, okay?
Oh, my God. Anyway, what are you watching on TV? Any TV series catch your fancy?
Well, we've been watching the Clinton Lewinsky thing called it's American Crime Story Impeachment, and then it's pretty good. It's not as sleazy as you think it would be, and also watching a great sci-fi show that has no aliens in it. It's strange. It's very strange. It's called Invasion, and it's on Apple TV. Have you seen this thing?
I have not. I've been waiting till it's
we're halfway through, and you've yet to see an alien.
Apple sort of dribbles out the content to keep people coming back.
But this is a very one of the best outer space attacks Earth shows I've seen, because it deals more with these people who are involved in the middle of all of this, and how they react to it. You have yet to see an alien.
Huh, interesting. Yeah. Speaking of aliens, Steve Martin and Martin Short. No, just kidding. I really enjoyed Only Murders in the Building.
By the way, I just got a casting notice today. They're doing another one. They need people, but in order to be an extra in this one, you have to have a car or something.
So there are more murders coming. Is that what you're saying?
Obviously, they're shooting it. They're shooting it in November. They're shooting it this month.
Who would have thought that Martin Short and Selena Gomez would be the power trio on television?
Well, that's all thanks to Steve Martin. He's the genius behind this whole thing.
He is brilliant. Oh, one more quick note. I've kind of enjoyed the American remake of the UK sitcom Ghost, which I absolutely love. It's on CBS, and I rarely want to endorse a sitcom on network TV, but Ghosts has been pretty charming.
I kind of dump out of a show that has a guy with an arrow through his neck.
Hey, man, he's one of my favorite characters. How dare you? Anyway, that's about it. You can check me out on Twitter at Culture Blaster, on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, and here on GABNet every few weeks with the immutable Alex Bennett.
The eternal Alex Bennett. Anyway,
there's your eternal 7,000 years, buddy.
Thank you, Michael. Everybody, stick around if you're listening to us online. There's more GABNet coming right up. See you next time, Michael.